I'm Yuki Miyamoto. I'm professor of the Religious Studies Department and also Vincent de Paul professor. I teach nuclear ethics, nuclear discourse, and especially intersecting with gender and race, ethnicity, and those kind of things. AAS 226 is Atom Bomb Discourse, which is kind of my signature course. I've been teaching this course for over 20 years. And there are actually two kinds for this course. One is a regular course, but the other is in conjunction with the short-term study abroad program, which is in fall, I teach this course. And during the winter break, we actually go to Japan, visiting Kyoto, Hiroshima, Nagasaki for 2 weeks. And also after the trip, we will have a follow-up session in winter. So it's very different in terms of the format, but in terms of the content, it's very similar. And what I expect the students is, first of all, Hiroshima Nagasaki is not an historical event which took place a long time ago far away from us. Actually, there are a lot more sufferers in the United States. And what I mean by that is the very first bomb test was actually a couple of weeks before Hiroshima in Alamogordo in New Mexico. And within the radius of 50 miles, there were 13,000 people living. And if you have seen Oppenheimer, those people never appeared in that film, as if there was no one living there. Subsequently, the US tested 1,030 nuclear tests within the mainland and also the Marshall Islands and different parts of the world. So it's very much relevant to us in terms of environment, in terms of who gets to be the victims. So it's kind of racial issues and so environmental justice issues. How those are intertwined and intersected in a society or even embedded in our social lives, social and political and economic lives. And in order to see that structure, I'm using the nuclear discourse. I was born and grew up in Hiroshima. So, and for my generation, many of us have family member or two as a survivor. So I didn't realize how different my upbringing was until I left for college. So after that, I realized, wow, growing up in Hiroshima is a very special experience. And then started wondering, because I have seen so many people who have been working for the abolition of nuclear weapons or for not letting anyone to be affected by radiation exposure, but it's been happening. It has never stopped. So I always wonder why, like what are we missing? Survivors and all supporters were working for this for years since 1945. So that's part of the reasons I came to the States. I just wanted to know the American discourse. My new research project is about looking into societal pattern of discrimination and prejudice, like sufferers of the atomic bombing faced. They were discriminated against. It's because people think that their illness was contagious or they were carrying the damaged genes or something like that. But also, I'm trying to reveal, because some of what I do is narrative analysis. So I'm analyzing this hidden rhetoric beneath the prejudice and discriminatory behaviors. And in my field, ethics, it is called a hermeneutical lacuna. Miranda Fricker is talking about, and basically epistemological injustice, meaning we don't realize how much prejudice and discriminatory attitudes we are internalizing. For example, a woman faced some sexual harassment because she internalized social norms. in which, this was a couple of decades ago, so in which she thinks, oh, maybe he was just trying to be friendly, or maybe I invited his behavior. But some women couldn't think that it was harm. It was a harmful behavior because, society was like, oh, he was just trying to be nice or friendly. At one point, those women gathered and realized that this is not just a personal experience, but a collective issues. This is structural. And then they came up with the term sexual harassment. And then other people started realizing, oh, I had that experience. So in other words, what Miranda Fricker is saying, that until we name it, even victims wouldn't realize the harms that they faced, what they are inflicted upon. So I'm using this as a theoretical framework and looking into why people were discriminated against. And Japan has a long history of colonization and invasion. So those colonized and occupied place, how this kind of framework worked and how discriminatory attitudes were justified. And this also applies to people suffered from the atomic bombing. What they learn is a kind of skills that they can navigate themselves in society. So in other words, if you learn how society works, how, for example, discrimination works, how it is embedded in our everyday life, how discourse is constructed around it, how it's naturalized because of it, and all those things which helps them to navigate themselves in a society to make a better or more equitable society. Because, for example, the atom bomb discourse is my area, and it tends to be framed by nation-state framework. Like when we think of the atomic bombing, it's US versus Japan, right? But nation states are not always in the shape as we know now. In other words, before 1945, Japan had the big territories, right, occupying. So which means actually 10% of survivors or sufferers of the atomic bombing in Hiroshima, they came from the Korean Peninsula. So they are ethnically Koreans. But of course, under the colonization, they were Japanese citizens, but not treated as such, right? And also there were some Taiwanese people there at the time of the bombing in Hiroshima and in Nagasaki. So it's important to see those people who don't necessarily fall into the category of Japan or Korea or Taiwan. By seeing that, we can see multi-layers of social strata and how society works and what colonization did, and all those issues we could talk about. So Global Asian is also, we are able to broaden our scope